7 o'clock, I'll call the meeting to order. Mr. Hunter, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The records show Mr. Dowden is absent. All the board members are present. Mr. Board, has public notice been given?
It has. We are working off of the revised agenda from last Thursday, which included the addition of 10B district-wide alternative education program.
All right, public comment. For policy 0167.3, anyone wishing to participate in the period of public comment must be a resident of the Richland School District, the parent or legal guardian of an enrolled district student, or an enrolled district student. Persons wishing to participate must physically be present at the meeting and must register in advance. A total time allotment of 30 minutes will be given for public comment. Each participant shall be given 3 minutes to address the board. A translator may be used to translate verbal communication to the board. If such translation services are used, 6 minutes shall be given to that participant, with only the first 3 minutes being designated to the total time allotment. Speakers are not permitted to make inflammatory comments, use inappropriate language or gestures, attack specific persons, or make a specific person the subject of their remarks. Please see policy 0167.3 for a complete list of requirements and restrictions. If a person is unable to adhere to these rules, they may be directed to end their comments. Mrs. Coleman, did you get any?
No.
Thank you. Now on to the 3B public comments regarding policy 2264, the non-discrimination of basis of sex in education programs or activities.
At the last school board meeting, we did have the first reading of this policy. Again, this is a Title IX compliance policy, which school districts need to have in effect by August 1st. Procedural on how to handle allegations or accusations, and this is the public comment portion of that, public's ability to weigh in on that policy.
Mr. Coleman?
No.
Nothing? Okay. On to reports, the district administrator's report.
Okay, just a couple of things. One, let the board and the public know, if you remember pre-referendum, we had a referendum website. There was a link on our website, and it was dedicated to referendum facts. That website has been live and will continue to be live with the exception of over the next 7 to 8 days. The folks from Nexus have to take that site down, and they will be transitioning it from a pre-referendum fact sheet to a referendum update, a projects update page. And so as they tidy everything up, all the information that was currently on the website will still be there. It will just look differently, as it's no longer a vote on April 2nd kind of a website. It's more of a here's what's going on, here's the progress that we've made, and here's where we're at with each of those 7 projects that we were looking at. So just know that if you're looking for that, that'll be down for the next 7 to 10 days. Along those same lines, then, we do plan on bringing an update to the board under information for typically monthly. We plan on right now the second board meeting of the month, providing the board and the public with an update on referendum projects, where we're at with certain things. Occasionally we'll have some financial information as well. A lot of that will be directed towards the website I just alluded to, pictures, those kinds of things, in addition to committee meetings. Obviously, if there's any decisions that the board has to make, that will happen whenever it is timely, and that will be put on for action. And then finally, super registration will happen before our next board meeting. So for the board and the public to know, that will be held on Tuesday, August 6th. Our goal is by this Friday, perhaps next Monday, but no later than next Monday. But the goal is this Friday that registration will be opened up to families for the 24-25 school year. They will be able to take care of that online process, and then they can attend super registration to either finish up their registration process, get their pictures, meet the principals, counselors, nurses, Cobeson, food service, all of the different folks that make school work. They can attend that on August 6th. That will be from 1 until 7 p.m., again on Tuesday, August 6th. Any questions from the board regarding any of those updates?
That'll be in this building, super registration.
Yes, thank you. That will be down in the high school gymnasium field house area. Thank you.
Board member reports?
I have a few to report on. First, Buildings, Property, and Transportation met Wednesday, July 17th at 6 p.m. Our first topic was our 2024-2025 schedule at a glance. Second was an easement on district property, which has been discussed before in our committee. The motion carried to bring that to the full board, so there'll be more on a future meeting there. The RCIS greenhouse, we got an update as far as I believe if I wrote it correctly, Sand Prairie Construction and Excavation will be donating all of their labor for the dirt work, and then Driftless Outdoors LLC will be donating their labor to build the greenhouse. And so more of an update that things are progressing and we'll be moving forward with that expeditiously. Item number 4, referendum projects. Nexus and Mr. Jones and the administration meet regularly. They're about 75% done with the primary building, which was the first one that they were starting in. A roofing project update. It's going well. They had very minimal insulation that had been found to be needing replacement. And the timeline on that from start to finish, the hope is 2 months, and we would be ready by the first day of school. They started over the kitchen area, and they will finish over the tech ed area, so to not disturb if school does come back in. And then lastly, site visits for our committee to go through each of the 4 district-owned buildings, and that's going to happen Tuesday, August 20th. Next, curriculum assessment and public relations met at 7:30 on the 17th. 2024 schedule at a glance. Again, we covered some state test data. There'll be more to come on that to the full board as we compile state averages and such, but we did have an increase in our AP test results. The third item is on action tonight as 10B, which is a small school within a school concept. And so it will be an alternative education classroom that we will be having 1 per building that's been approved by our committee. More on that again later. Finalize the goals and priorities for 2024-2025. And we covered some open enrollment data with some historical student retention rates, which plays into the action item of school within a school, 10B.
The Richland School District Foundation met on the 15th at 5:30. Ms. Amy Hardy presented Art of Education for Flex Art Curriculum and Pro Learning to help benefit especially our newest hire in our art department, but also benefit the 2 staff that have been with the district for a while. We also had an update on some fundraising ideas for the fall musical. We discussed and approved spending money to help support the vape detectors that will be coming in. We gave a donation for that. Irv Peckham was voted on and selected as one of the outstanding alumni for homecoming, which is October 4th. And then there are 2 open positions yet for the foundation. We have had a couple people express interest, and so that is still open. And then on July 17th, the Personnel Committee met, and went over the schedule at a glance. We did a review of job descriptions to get those updated and current, and we are back within compliance of our policy to make sure that those are being updated in a timely fashion. Ms. Amber Bingham did a presentation on the exit interview summary, which she will be sharing that with the board at a later date. We were presented with information for 3 different companies for the bonds proceeds management firm. We did select one that will be presented to the board in the future. And then we also did the 24-25 employee handbook revisions, which included an addition of the instrumental music director for the 6th grade. And then also we discussed term position vacation time, just to get that language cleaned up. And that will, those will also be presented to the board at a future date.
Any questions from board members? All right, thank you. On to minutes, the approval of prior meeting minutes of July 8th, 2024.
There is a revision to the minutes. I do have it updated in board docs, but if you do have a paper copy, under 9B, the information and discussion items related to new policy 2264, it had said that WASB received some funding. That is not accurate. The school district actually receives the funding, federal funding, and so in order for us to ensure that we can continue to be eligible for that funding, we have to comply with the new federal guidelines, law, I should say, regarding Title IX by August 1st. So the new policy, or excuse me, the new board docs states the revisions to the minutes that I just spoke about.
I move to approve the minutes from July 22nd as revised.
Motion made by Mr. Gillian, is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Ms. Troxel. Discussion? Mr. Gillian?
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye. All right, on to financial items, approval of statement of cash.
I move to approve the statement of cash dated July 17th, 2024.
Motion made by Mr. Gillian, is there a second?
A second.
Seconded by Mr. Hunter. Mr. Bosworth, anything that you'd like to add?
Nothing to add on the statement of cash.
Thank you. Discussion? Ms. Troxel?
Aye.
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 Approval of invoices.
I move we approve Community First Bank General Checking Account checks number 86495 through 86532, ACH numbers 242501757 through 242501801, and EFT 2023-00110 through 2023-00117 for a net total of $876,278.97. This is for the purpose of general operating costs of the district.
Motion made by Mr. Bailey, is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mr. Hunter. Mr. Bosworth?
Just 2 general comments for you. The first is that because we transitioned between fiscal years, it made the typical report a little bit clunky, so we filtered it out and put it into an Excel format, so that's why it looks slightly different. And secondly, around this time, you'll see mainly renewal sorts of payments, renewing contracts for the next fiscal year. You'll see a lot of those sorts of payments in there.
Before we go to vote, can I ask a question? Because perhaps I misheard, but can you read the EFT again? The EFT numbers, I have something, no, I'm sorry, ACH numbers, I have something different from what I heard you say.
Sure. It's 242-501754.
Okay, I heard you say 57, but that must be a me problem. I see.
I might have transposed.
Any discussion? Mr. Hunter?
Aye.
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 Alright, consent agenda items. I will note that 7B is being pulled from consent, and it will be under action items as 10C. So, Mrs. Coleman?
Motion to approve the consent agenda items is presented. Motion to accept the donation of vape detector mounts valued at approximately $1,993 from Richland Area Crime Stoppers per policy 7230. Motion to accept the donation of money for the Supporting Families program valued at $1,000 from Richland County Children and Family Advocacy Council per policy 7230. Motion to accept the donation of money to RCHS Athletics valued at approximately $9,200 from Richland Center Athletic Booster Club for policy 7230. Motion to waive policy 5851, school events on Wednesdays, Sundays, and holidays to allow the Strengthening Families program to meet after 7 p.m. during their 2024-2025 programming. Motion to accept the recommendation from the Personnel Negotiations and Budget Development Committee and approve the 2024-25 substitute rates as presented. Motion to approve the revisions to the job descriptions as presented effective immediately. And motion to approve the 2023-24 budget revisions as presented.
I make the motion to accept the consent agenda items. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Van Landijk. Is there discussion? Mrs. Dickman?
Aye.
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 Alright. Is there a motion then to approve the modified agenda?
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. Billion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mrs. Dickman. Discussion? Mr. Van Landijk?
Aye.
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 On behalf of the Board of Education, I'd like to thank the Richland Area Crime Stoppers, Richland County Children and Family Advocacy Council, and the Richland Center Athletic Booster Club for their generous donations. All right, on to information and discussion items, district vacancies and appointments.
All right, you can see on the chart there, the board is looking to act on an English teacher later on in tonight's meeting, as well as being notified of a couple of building administrative assistants at the intermediate school and the primary school, which leaves us with a handful of open positions. Most of them are up here at the Richland Center High School, including a night custodian, a math teacher, a part-time alternative education GED teacher. We have a speech pathologist, part-time as well, and a cook. And then, in addition, we have a cross-categorical teacher, primarily to be housed at Richland Center Intermediate School. Otherwise, the information that the board was presented last week, as well as the items that the board took action on, are in the two tables below. Any questions from the board regarding the vacancies or appointments? Thank you.
All right, action items. 10A, new policy 2264, non-discrimination of basis of sex in education programs or activities, second reading.
Okay, so you've seen this now a couple of times. Just a quick summary. Because of the new Title IX laws of the federal government, school districts needed to have policies in place that addressed both any accusations or allegations that happened prior to August 1st, 2024, and a separate policy that handled accusations or allegations on or after August 1st, 2024. And so this policy 2264 is the policy that addresses things on or after August 1st, 2024. There are some states that have joined forces to try to put a block against this. We've received word that Wisconsin is not part of those, and that we should be proceeding until we hear otherwise. And so the board at a future date can always waive this policy or change this policy should Wisconsin be included in that. But in order to be in compliance, we would have to adopt policy 2264 as new policy, which would address any accusations or allegations that occur on or after August 1st, 2024. Any questions?
Is there a motion then to approve the new policy 2264, non-discrimination on basis of sex in education programs or activities immediately as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Mrs. Dickman, is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Ms. Troxel, discussion? Aye.
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 10B, district-wide alternative education program.
Okay, so this was the revised agenda after the curriculum committee had heard this proposal. They unanimously recommended it, and we revised the agenda accordingly due to timing. We've had great success with our charter school, the partner school. That has gone better than I think anyone has imagined in year one. We're expanding that in year two. But as we continue to look at data that talks about or that shows students leaving our district through the open enrollment process or going homeschool, one of the things that we feel is happening in studying the data is that students or families are looking for a smaller school environment for their children to be successful in, as well as addressing the individual needs that those children have. Maybe not necessarily a special education with an IEP, but just students that just have other needs, okay? And so in looking at the data and trying to figure out what could we do to retain these students, to try to make education work for them in an environment where they can be successful, we kind of pulled a page back from about a decade ago when our school district used to have what is called a school within a school, a smaller, more isolated, segregated classroom where students did their learning in that classroom. And we piggybacked that concept with the successes that we've had at the partner school and have come up with an alternative education program. It's not a charter school. It would be housed within our buildings and be under the Richland School District name. But we would call it the RC, R-S-S-E-E, okay, pronounced RC. And it stands for the Richland Small School Educational Environment. And so this would be, the proposal would be that we would have 3 full-time teachers, one housed at each of the 3 buildings, and that teacher would have a small group of students, a group of students that doesn't necessarily transition to other classes, but a small school environment where students can be part of a class size of 10 to 12 students, perhaps at the lower levels, to 12 to 15 at the upper levels, but to allow those students to be successful in a isolated area. Certainly we'll have some interactions, and we want them to get some social interactions as well, but we really want them to be able to do school without a lot of extra stimuli or just overall numbers and bodies. And with this, I think that the Richland School District could be a school that offers many choices for our families in a world where parents and students have choice in education. We would offer another choice for our families. So we would have our online option where students can do school virtually. We have our partner school option, which is primarily for students in grades 8 through 12. We have our traditional option. Okay, this would allow us to have that small school option where we can keep students in a much smaller class size and in a much more protected environment, and we would have that at each building. And we think that this would be a very, very successful opportunity for our students to not only be retained in our school district and want to be part of our school district, but also allow them to be really, really successful. So I'll turn it over to the curriculum committee in a second, but Dr. Johnson, did I miss anything that you would like to add regarding this?
Really just the focus on executive functioning skills and social emotional. I think that's a really important point to make, that by having those smaller numbers and be able to practice internally, and then having that small setting, that school within a school, I think it's a desirable trait for a lot of families these days.
Thank you. And Mr. Huntemer or anyone else from the curriculum committee, anything that I missed that you would like to add? Came as a recommendation from the curriculum committee.
Go ahead.
I'm good. I fully support this. It's good, another step to meet the needs of students, non-traditional students.
And one thing, I don't recall hearing you say it just now, but there was kind of the freedom in stating that it's one per building, because depending on the given year, the certain individuals that might better be suited for that class, there could be some fluctuation. It might be first and second grade, but then the next year, maybe due to class size, it becomes a first grade only. So there's, it's kind of up to the building principals and admin to, so from year to year, there could be different needs that present a shift in that grade level that year. So.
Thank you for adding that.
As Neil suggested, I think this is a good program. It's, we're stating this now and knowing that things may change over time. And I would make the motion that we accept the revised district-wide alternative education program to be effective immediately to give administration a chance to implement this prior to the school year.
So, motion was made by Mr. Van Landen. Is there a second?
I will second.
Seconded by Mrs. Dickman. Discussion?
I guess the only question that I have is just knowing that there could be a need for more than what would necessarily fit in a single classroom. How would the selection be made, especially, well, high school is 7 through 12. If there's more kids that are really looking at that program, how are we going to determine which kids actually get accepted into that?
It certainly have to be a joint effort with administration, teachers, parents, and students at the high school level. I think we're targeting, at least in the first year, well, Mr. Huntemer kind of alluded to wanting some ability to have some fluidity to the program, but it's more of a 7th and 8th grade program, really helping those students that may struggle being in a building of 500 students to have a smaller class size. It may be ultra successful, and we may find that in the future we need more of this. But I think that we have to try to do something to, other than status quo, or we're not going to do anything in terms of changing our open enrollment out or open enrollment in numbers. And so this was one step that we wanted to try because we believe that this will impact and make a big difference to a good number of students.
Thank you.
To add to that, some of the data shown over the last 3 to 4 years showed the retention rate in certain grades, how it tends to drop more significantly in certain years. And so I think the targeting of the 7th and 8th, there was a specific reason because that one seems to hit us even harder. And so if you can keep them in for that first year or two in this building, that what could that lead to in the future? So.
Thank you.
I'd just like to add that Mr. Ward and Dr. Johnson did a great job on their research and bringing it to the committee. Basically like Neil was saying, they brought excellent data showing where those needs were. So I think those students are in great hands.
And also add one more thing, is what this has been said, we realize this is kind of a pilot program. We're starting this new, it lies within our budget, we can afford it. And once we get a feel for how this is going to work out, we can adjust in a number of ways, but that's to be determined. So for this time, I think this is the way we start, and we can kind of move forward from here. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Mr. Valiant?
Aye.
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 Aye. All right, 10C from our modified agenda. It's the donation of money from various community families and business and RSD staff.
And this is a gift, but we did have some members who had a conflict of interest. There were so many folks who donated to this cause that it was pulled from consent and placed on for action.
Is there a motion to accept the donation of money for RCIS exploratory days valued at approximately $2,075 from various community families, businesses, and staff members per policy 7230?
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. Bailing, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Van Landijk. Discussion? Ms. Troxel?
Abstain.
Abstain.
Aye.
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 And also on behalf of the Board of Education, I would like to thank all the various community families and businesses and RSD staff for their generous donations. All right, I'll make a motion. We move into closed session pursuant under statutes 19.851C and/or F as appropriate to consider employment, promotion, and compensation of employees for purposes of discussing individual employee hiring and compensation, and Wisconsin statutes 19.851F and Wisconsin statutes 118.125 to discuss student open enrollment applications and individual pupil information related to those applications. The board may take action on these issues in closed session if necessary and appropriate. At the conclusion of closed session, the board will entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mrs. Dickman. Discussion? Mr. Hunter?
Aye.
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 Thank you.